Dearest Papa, Mama, and Granny, by the time you get this letter, I'll be observing you all from this car, enjoying the hospitality of the Apsaras. I have no regrets. In fact, even if I become a human again, I'll join the army and fight for my nation. If you can, please come and see where the Indian Army fought for you tomorrow. As far as the unit is concerned, the new chaps should be told about this sacrifice. I hope my photo will be kept in the Ekoi Mandir. Whatever organ can be taken should be done. Contribute some money to the orphanage and keep on giving rupees 50 to Ruxana per month and meet Yogi Baba. Best of luck to Bindia. Never forget this sacrifice of men. Papa, you should feel proud. Mama, so should you. Mama ji, forgive me for everything wrong I did. Okay then, it's time for me to join my clan of Dirty Dozen. My assault party has 12 chaps. Best of luck to you all. Live life king size. Yours, Robin. We have the convener and founder of Pune Samvad, Mr. Manoj Pande. Dr. Manoj Pande is a technologist and entrepreneur whom we all know. So without further ado, I request Mr. Manoj Pande Ji to felicitate our guests for today.
So, General Pande Ji, thank you very much for coming as a Pune Samvad. I would like to tell you that Pune Samvad is a vibrant intellectual platform, nurture young minds from the industry, academia, premier institutes, and various. Pune is a city, vibrant city, and there's a lot of floating population in this city. We started Pune Samvad 2 years back with the objective to provide Punekar with various distinguished speaks from the various parts of the Bharat and various ideas of nation building, their contribution to society in art, culture, history, and various aspects. And we are very happy at Pune Samvad to have you, our distinguished speaker. Thank you very much for joining us. Would like to hear your views about Pune Samvad and how do we make this platform more vibrant, more engaged with the citizens, community, and the speakers across globe, not only limited to the Bharat. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Manoj ji, for this. And I think it's a great idea, great initiative. And like you said, to get uh, people from different fields, different domains, different professions onto a single platform, I think it's a very good method of exchanging ideas, getting to know each other, and all for the larger good of the community of the society. So it's a great beginning, and I wish Pune Samad all the very best. I personally am looking forward to today's session and interacting with all those who are there part of the Pune Samad. Yes.
Thank you. Pune Samvad do need your blessings, and we hope to invite you in the future also. And we also hope in your ecosystem, the distinguished speakers across the Bharat, you also recommend them to go and speak on Pune Samvad. So we are looking forward for various engagement with you today and in the future. Thank you very much.
It's indeed my honor to speak with the 29th Army Chief General Manoj Pande. It's been great over the past few months having interacted with him a few times to learn a lot about specifically the kind of things that he has worked on. It's always a great learning opportunity for me when I meet senior veterans like General Pande. And there are a lot of interesting things that I have tried to learn from him, watching his videos as well, and we'll hope and discuss some of these in the next 1 hour. As I said, time is short, so we'll directly jump into it. General Pande, one of the things that we were talking about, and that was a title of the session as well,
Yeah.
which is Life of a Soldier. Would like to understand from you, how do you view an Indian Army person, an Indian Army leader, in terms of the character, the life. We are having a conversation about how you have people from different walks of life, different provinces. How have you viewed it, and how has that impacted the way you have led them as you have grown up in the organization?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure for me to be here, and I must thank Manoj Pande Ji for giving me this opportunity. And Amit, I'll just sort of rephrase your question, and let me. I hope I've got it right. You are wanting to sort of know or ask me as to what is it that defines army as an institution.
Right,
Is
right.
that
And
is
what
that
is it
right?
to be a soldier, and what is it as an army, as an
Yeah,
institution?
because my sense is amongst the non-military community, uh, not much is known about what is it that the army stands for, because what you see is on television, all the spit and polish and the rest of it. But I'll try and explain what army as an institution, what is it that defines army as an institution. So first, I think it's a microcosm of values that the citizens of this country are looking at, and its core values, I would say, are based on the edifice of what I like to call three things: Naam, Namak, and Nishan. So you ask any soldier, he strongly believes in these three things or three terms. And Naam is to do with the unit, the organization, and maybe I'll talk of it a little later, that he identifies with. Namak is, of course, the loyalty, the fidelity to the organization, and in this case, you can think of it as the loyalty to the country, constitution, to the military itself. And then is Nishan. Nishan is the respect for the ensign, for the flag, because that is what you would fight for. So these are the three things which each uh, soldier very, and these are not nebulous ideas. Thirdly, I think it is this unwavering commitment for the soldier uh, to be prepared to face hardships, you know, and even sacrifice life when required in service of the nation. And this is very well defined in terms of, service before self is our motto, which each soldier believes in. And this again is very well exemplified in the Indian Military Academy by what we called as the Chetwood motto. And it reads something like this, and I quote: it says, "The safety, honor, and welfare of your country come first, always and every time. The honor, welfare, and comfort of the soldiers or the troops you command come next, and your own ease, comfort, and safety come last." Now, in these three, four sentences, this is what actually a soldier believes in: country first, service before self, and your own well being, your own comfort, your own, especially for leaders,
Right, absolutely.
is the least important thing. So, a couple of other things. We talk of unity in diversity. Now, army as an institution exemplifies this, because this is where you have soldiers from different parts of the country, from different religions, different castes, who speak different languages, live together, work together for a common cause. Now, this is unique, and I don't think this happens anywhere else in that institution. There is also this secular nature of our organization, where again, and I keep giving this example. So, for us, for a soldier, his religion at home is his personal religion, but for him, the religion of the troops or the soldiers he commands is more important.
Right.
And it is very common. You go to an army unit or an army establishment, you will find what is called as a Sarva Dharma Sthal. So within the same building, you will have a mandir, you will have a masjid, you will have a gurdwara, or you will have a church, based on or depending on what is the composition of your soldiers in that unit. And often, as a Hindu, I would go to a masjid. Every Sunday, you have what is called as a mandir parade or a masjid parade. So this is something very, very unique. So this is what I talked of, unity in diversity, the secular nature.
Hmm.
This is what, in essence, I feel must or would define army as an institution.
Uh, Thank you for summarizing it so well. I was jumping ahead and trying to combine two questions in one. But before I come to the second question, which was about the leadership lessons that we had talked about earlier, this important value system that the army institution has or the services institution has, I'm sure this is true for the Air Force and Navy as well. Now, India has a volunteer army, has a very professional army, but many times we civilians feel that, of course, we all admire the army, we respect the army, but unless and until we speak with senior veterans like you, we don't really understand what's the army, and definitely don't understand these value systems, especially our youth. Like we have things like NCC and all, but I personally think a lot more needs to be done. So I wanted to understand your views on that as to how do we get these values out into the common people in terms of, at least communicating what is it that the army stands for.
Yeah, I think you raise a very important point. I mean, how is it that the youth of this country, who are our future, what is it that they can imbibe from an institution such as army? And you talked of values, and let me say, unless you want me to elaborate later, the values that a soldier lives by, beside what Naam Namak Nishan I mentioned, are 7 values, that is loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honesty, integrity, and personal courage. Now, these again 7 values are something which each it is ingrained. Uh, Again, it's not a nebulous sort of concept or idea. So these are the values that a soldier lives by. Now, how is it that you can imbibe these in the youth of today? Extremely important, because my observation is, these days, young boys, girls, children, uh, while doing well in their respective careers is extremely important. Uh, Career progression is important. I think for them to become good citizens, for them to imbibe these values is important. Now, how do you do it? One is by engaging with them, talking to them, perhaps in a forum such as this. So, this is one of the things which I am currently doing post my retirement for last maybe a year and a half. Whenever I get an opportunity, you talk to the youth, speak to them, explain to them, give them examples. But like you said, this is something which is very, very important.
I think this is something that definitely needs to. It's great to hear that you're taking this to the youth, and I think this needs to be done at a more broader level, at an institution level as well. But I think let's not dwell into that. The core second question that I was going to get into is the leadership lessons that you were discussing from the Indian Army, from your tenure of over 4 decades. And related to that, I'm also going to add the next question, which is you had the unique experience of being the first chief from the engineering corps or corps of engineers. Uh, how did that impact you in terms of getting acceptance in the wider community, but in the army community, but also in terms of the special skills and the expertise that you were able to bring to the leadership, which previously was coming from the core, I guess the core infantry and the conventional forces and conventional functions of the army.
So, I'll take the second one
Okay.
first. So I come from a engineering background. Well, I'm not saying I'm an engineer, but I belong to the Corps of Engineers, who in the military are in the business of laying bridges, destroying bridges, clearing minefields, laying minefields, constructing roads, helipads, infrastructure, etc., etc. So that was my background. And I think in the introduction, it was mentioned that, from the Corps of Engineers, I was the first one to have perhaps reached here. Now, I think it only goes to show that here is an organization which provides a level playing field to all, different branches, to people from different backgrounds. Perhaps it, uh, if I may, without being pompous, recognize as merit. So it's not a parochial organization. So it's a very level playing field. It also tells you that, and it's a fact that in the army, as you grow, at each stage, the army or the organization identifies future leaders, trains them, provide them a level playing, gives them the right exposure, be it in terms of different verticals in the military, be it in terms of different areas that you need to serve, be it in terms of different appointments in different branches at different headquarters that you need to serve. So I think, and this happens to all. So as you grow up the ladder, this kind of, so this was, I mean, for me, I personally took it as yet another responsibility. And I keep saying this, it is not as if the responsibility of the army chief is the most important. I always say this, that even a section commander who's commanding a small body of 10 soldiers, or a platoon commander who's commanding a body of 30 soldiers, or a company commander, 100, battalion, 800, brigade, like each one is a commander at his level.
Right.
His role is as important. So it is not as if, the responsibility of the role of the army chief, the most important. So I took it at whatever level your responsibility came, you try to do your best. That was your second question. So you also ask as to what are the leadership lessons, and I'm sure the audience would agree. When you look at leadership, I feel there are 4 levels of leadership, be it in the military, be it in the corporate or any field. So first is your individual leadership, which is the basic foundation. What virtues, what qualities, what attributes you must have as a leader individually. And that it includes loyalty, honesty, integrity, courage, selflessness, etc., etc. So that is the basic thing. Now, this is a sine qua non. Whatever level you talk, you need to have these attributes. Second is what we call as unit leadership, or in corporate parlance, maybe team leadership.
Team leadership. Right.
This is where you're in direct contact with your team. This is where your leadership style, you can influence the outcomes. So this is where your teamwork, this is where camaraderie, all these aspects come into play, where you are in direct contact. The next rung, I would say, is what is, we call it as the operational level leadership. In the corporate world, possibly you will call it a organizational leadership,
Right.
where you are less face to face with your members of your
Correct.
team. You are also interacting with them less.
Right.
This is where things become a little more complex,
More process
driven, right? And this is where you need to then look at more collaborative approach. You need to delegate, you need to empower your leaders, your team, and likewise. So this is third. And last, I would say, is the strategic level leadership, perhaps at the level of the army chief.
Correct.
Or, in the corporate world, the CEO or the chairman. Now, this is where you are now looking at, you're setting the direction for your organization. You are shaping your institution. That is where, that comes in. At that level, you're also leveraging your network outside your organization, outside your sphere of influence to achieve outcomes. That is where you need to have an outward orientation. You need to perhaps have broad shoulders. You need to be able to communicate better. You need to give direction to your organization. You also need to then develop organization culture.
Right.
Not only nurture what your organization stand for, organization culture, but try and take it forward. So this is, I feel, the last and the, so while the basic tenets, attributes of a leader, I would argue will remain the same, but as you step forward, as you move from one stage to another, certain specifics, come into the play. At the organizational level, perhaps your ability to manage resources with the demands again comes into play, which is not relevant at a smaller unit or a team level.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think this is an excellent ladder structure that you described, and obviously the kind of problems that you're dealing with are in most cases a lot more complex than what any corporate organization would be dealing with. But this is a good segue to the next set of questions that we were planning to talk about, which is
what specifically your focus in your tenure as the army chief was one of the areas was also the force modernization, mechanization, and being an engineer, you obviously brought in that perspective. So looking at the Indian Army going back, say, 7, 8 decades, I wanted to get your perspective, again, as an engineer perspective, of how the evolution has happened over either over the 7 decades or the wars that we have fought. And given that where we are at right now in 2026 or in 2023, 2024, when you were the chief, uh, what was the, as you mentioned, what was the strategic viewpoint of what the force needs to look like, let's say in 5 years, 10 years?
So if we look back, what was the situation
Mhm.
then 4 to 5 years back?
Mhm.
You had just come out of the COVID
Mm.
situation, or perhaps you were there.
Right.
There was a lot of geopolitical flux.
Yeah.
Things were moving very fast, just as they are still,
Right.
we are still in that situation of flux. So the world was changing at a great
Mhm.
pace. You had conflicts, military conflicts going on the world over. You had the Russia-Ukraine
Correct.
conflict, which is still into the 4th or 5th year now, and number of other conflicts. It also told you that security is an important, aspect, and nations will not hesitate to go to war uh, in case national
Mhm.
interests are involved. So the primacy or security and economy, their interplay and role of security came to the fore. Now, with those challenges, while this was on the geopolitical side, you had evolution of technology. You had new forms of warfare emerging. You had new methods.
Right.
It was no longer just the tanks or the guns or the soldiers, fighting. You had new domains. While there was, because of technology, you could fire better,
Mhm.
precision strikes beyond visual range. While all that happened, you had new domains. You had the cyber domain, you had the electronic
Mhm.
warfare, the electromagnetic spectrum, you
Mhm.
had space, and you have the new kid on the block,
Mm.
the information warfare,
Right.
of which perhaps
Yeah,
you may
we'll
like
get to,
to
we
talk
want to talk
later
about it.
as to
Yeah.
how information,
Mhm.
how the battle of narratives, how perception
Mhm.
management came to the fore. So we were in a situation where there was a major challenge for the armed forces. How do you prepare for the next war?
Mhm.
A, you should be able to imagine, visualize, anticipate your future threat scenarios, and B, then able to prepare yourself and make them future ready.
Mhm.
You have to build your capability accordingly. You have to buy your weapon systems accordingly. So, having seen all this, we then set about to lay out what I then called as a transformation roadmap.
Mhm.
And this can't happen in 1 year, 2 years. It has to be a sort of roadmap
Right.
for the next maybe 8 to 10 years as to
Yeah.
what is it that forces need to do. And when I say forces, it is all the three
All three.
elements or arms of the forces. And some of it was, force
Mhm.
modernization, force restructuring, imbibing technology, especially niche technologies,
Mhm.
disruptive technologies like AI, machine learning,
Mhm.
etc. Third, refining your systems and processes. With AI, automation,
Mhm.
how can you become more efficient, more safe?
Mhm.
Fourth was your human resource policies,
Mhm.
of which Agnipath was
Right.
one.
Right. Right.
Perhaps we can discuss that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And fifth was how can you improve the jointness
Hmm.
and integration within the three services. So these were the five pillars.
And that is also one of my interesting
Yeah,
questions I
so-
want to come to.
So we worked on all five, made a clear
Mhm.
roadmap.
Mhm.
And in all this, to become self-reliant,
Mhm.
because that's what COVID taught us,
Mhm.
that we have to be self-reliant in meeting our defense sector needs. That
Right.
was a major lesson. Technology, and you asked about technology. How is it? I mean, you cannot be dependent on technology from anybody
Right.
outside. You have to be able to develop your own technology. During the crunch time, nobody is going to give technology.
Right.
So how do you do that?
Mhm.
So that is another. While there is work in progress, there are challenges therein. Now, you also asked in the same thing as an engineer, how did
Mhm.
it help?
Mhm.
So I think I feel that after my engineering, while I may not have directly applied my engineering knowledge, but I think the engineering education teaches you to approach a problem
Mhm.
situation in a more logical way.
Mhm.
it also perhaps enables you to understand the potential of technology, right? It understand the potential of technology. In terms of execution, perhaps you are a little more disciplined. It also tells you the value of innovation. So these were 3-4 things, I think, in a subconscious way. Being a engineer, I think, has helped me.
I think you have given me a nice overview of my next 3 or 4 questions. We want to talk about Agniveers, we want to talk about theaterization, and we want to talk about, you said new kid on the block, the info war, but I want to talk about another new kid on the block for the last 5-10 years, which everyone here, and especially all the people who are not in the services, constantly think about, and that's the drone.
That's a-
The drone.
Okay, yeah.
And I asked a few friends when I said I'm going to talk to General Pandey. Obviously, some of the questions I got were around drones because everyone has quite, some have very realistic, some have very crazy ideas, and we want validation from you as to which ones are realistic, which ones are crazy. Uh, Opinions vary all the way from, drones are going to replace everything, and we won't even have a battlefield tank in the future, to, drones are just an incremental addition to a tank. And what we have seen in the Russia-Ukraine conflict for the last 5 years has been quite quite revealing in terms of the speed with which they have made drones. Of course, that will bring into our next set of questions about Atmanirbhar, but specifically about the operationalization and the way the drones are being used and the defense against them, which is the logical next question. We definitely want to understand your perspective as civilians to really frame this in mind. What is the reality? Are we too jumping too far ahead? Are we being too unrealistic of Star Wars kind of things, or the future is almost here?
No, so drone warfare, I think, and we have seen it. I don't have to explain because it's all over. We read of it, we see about it, as to how drones have transformed warfare in the future. Uh, and the another characteristic is the drones are. It's no longer, it's only with developed countries,
Right,
or
right.
it's available to non-state actors, perhaps anybody and everybody, right? So that's another challenge, another dimension to what drones can do. You would have recently read as to what else can drones do.
Yeah.
So my thing is, you just need to let your imagination run wild, see as to what else can drones do for you. I recently read, and you all would know that one of the limitations of drones is as to how long it can remain
Correct.
airborne in
Yeah.
terms of what is the battery life, etc., etc. And I read somewhere
Power transmission.
that you have drones which will, like small flies,
Yeah.
they'll clip onto a high tension wire,
Yeah.
get
Charge.
charged within no time, and then they are good to go for what, next 24 hours. Recently, you also would have heard one of the challenges or a counter drone measure is your ability to jam
Right.
the communication signal or spoof it to
Mhm.
confuse the
Right.
drone.
Right.
But then you have now
Wires.
OFC based
Yeah.
drones, which can, so you have a very thin wire,
Wire. Correct.
like
Fiber.
a guide,
Fiber optic
it'll-
wire. Yeah.
fiber optic wire,
Yeah.
which will go to what, 25
Right.
kilometers.
Yeah. 50 kilometers.
So just as there are application uses of drones, there are counter drone mechanisms. So coming up in equal measure. So both are important, drones as well as counter drones. The good news is in India, you have a large ecosystem. There are large number of big industries, small industries, startups. Even the army is manufacturing their
Right.
own drones through 3D printing and the rest of it. Having said all this, I must put a caution. Especially after Op Sindoor, what we saw in the May of last year, an impression seems to be gathering that future wars are going to be like this. They'll finish in 88 hours.
Yeah.
They'll be all beyond visual range. You will fire from 200, 400 kilometers. There will no physical contact. You will shoot somebody, So is this the kind of wars we'll fought? Maybe a part of it will be like this, but we have to see as to what are our security environment, what are our security challenges. Unlike most of the countries world over, we have to recognize, accept that we have disputed, contested borders close to 3,005 kilometers on our western side, as well as on our northern side with a northern neighbor, adversary, what have you. Now, this is very, very significant. I also keep saying this. In our case, because of this fact, the victory markers. In the military, we say, how do you define victory? We call them victory markers. If you've done this, you are a victor or a winner or you're a loser. So I feel the land will continue to be a very decisive domain. It is my conviction that even if you lose, let's say, 1 square kilometer, 2 square kilometer of land, it's not going to be good. The country is not going to accept it. So the land domain will always remain important. So while the wars will begin with all these drones and beyond visual range, at the end of it, at the, like we like to call, conflict termination stage, the ground forces, the tanks, the artillery guns, the infantry soldier, the one who fights with a gun in his hand, all that will continue to be relevant. Well, you have to look at these weapon platforms differently. So if there is a tank which is currently firing at 2 kilometers, one way to upgrade its capability is to say the same gun instead of 2 must fire 4 kilometers. That is one approach. The second approach, which I feel is the right approach and which is correctly happening, you have to look at that tank as a weapon platform de novo.
Right.
That tank should be able to launch drones which go 8, 10 kilometers or beyond.
This is like an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, so it should be able to fire loiter munitions. So it is not as if the tank is history. I think the tank will continue to have relevance, but you will have to look at it differently. So this also impacts your capability development. So how much money you spend on all the high-tech stuff, how much you spend on your legacy platforms. Now, replacing the legacy platforms in entirety is neither possible nor desirable.
Right.
So you'll have to have a good mix of the new stuff, the legacy stuff. You'll have to make sure that they're interoperable for some time, and then see as to how things.
So one related question that I was going to come to here. We saw this in Ops Indoor last year. We talk a lot about drones, even in outside of the army, outside the services, but we don't talk a lot about counter drones. One of the things that we saw successfully implemented in Ops Indoor was our counter drone measures as well. So, can you, for the purpose of folks here, talk a little bit about what kind of innovations and what kind of future would we see in that particular area?
Yeah.
And I want to tie my next question to that as well, which is, I was going to come to Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is specifically what are the kind of things that we are doing and we should be doing in terms of becoming self-sufficient in some of these key areas.
So, to put it in a very simplistic manner, perhaps a very basic issue, when you look at a drone, there has to be something to counter the drone. There are 2-3 ways. One is a kinetic, what we call, where you actually shoot down a drone using firing some guns. Second is you interrupt or destroy its communication link from where it is getting command to do what. Third, whatever information it is picking up, it is going to relay. Again, it is through your radio frequency RF, so it is jamming. So either it is a soft kill, which is you either jam a drone or you spoof a drone. You confuse it so that it just goes and crashes. So that is one way. Or you do a kinetic. Now the challenge here is, while there are radars which should be able to pick up a drone at, let's say, 5 kilometers. When the drone comes closer, you need something else which should be able to indicate. So there is a method, there is a system to identify, pick up a drone, and there is a second system to neutralize it, either by hard kill or soft kill. The challenge is to integrate the two on a single platform. Now, to add to the complexity, you should be able to identify as to which is your drone, which is the adversary's drone. So then your AI comes in. Now, integrating artificial intelligence in your counter drone systems is the key. So that, and especially if you have a swarm of drones, you have hundreds of drones, and if you have to able to neutralize them, then it is all the more important.
Right.
So I think this is a mix. This is an area where a lot of work is happening in India, especially the integration of artificial intelligence into the counter drone systems. And the sooner we get a good solution answer, the better it is.
So tying that to Atmanirbhar, Atmanirbharta in this and other systems? I'll just use this. Tying this back to our discussion on Atmanirbhar, uh, we have talked about this quite a bit over the past few years, and we are seeing some successes in the private sector. Of course, we have DRDO and the defense companies as well, and a lot of work seems to be happening in that area. So, I would like to understand your perspective on that in terms of where we are at that and what should we be doing further in this areas. Also, getting how do we involve our private industry and our academic and research institutions more into this than what we already have? Yeah, that's okay.
I think again this is an extremely important topical and relevant question that you ask. So the need to be self-reliant is
It's
a done
obvious,
thing.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
given,
yeah.
established. So no debate on this.
Right.
There is a ecosystem. You need a ecosystem or a defense production ecosystem, if you like, comprising the users, which is the services, the policymakers, the government, the industry, the startup ecosystem, the MSMEs, the R&D people,
Right.
including the academia. So their entire effort has to then come together and be synergized. The government has created a lot of enabling policies, right? I see in the industry there's a lot of excitement. There are some challenges which I will highlight a little later. My observation is somehow the academia or the R&D ecosystem is still not fully on board. So while you have IIT Bombay, you have IIT Madras, a lot of work happening there, but you need, or the research solutions that you find at the IITs need to address the felt need of a soldier on ground. It cannot be a perceived need. So A, they need to first understand what exactly does
They
a
want.
soldier, sailor, airman require and give him exactly that. Often my observation has been the IITs, or for that matter, and I don't mean IITs, I'm just saying institutions,
Yeah.
would say that, look, we have developed technology. But to them I say, look, a soldier doesn't want technology. He
Want a
wants a
solution.
product, a solution, and an integrated solution. So I might have developed a technology in my field, but a weapon system is a sum
Fully
total
integrated.
integration of number of technologies.
Right.
So that is one challenge. So that is again in this direction, and a lot of it is happening. I mentioned about the technology, how we need to have our own technology and not be dependent on outside world, and that is the key. But there is a problem there. While it is good thing to say that we must have our own technology, you need to fund the private
Right.
sector R&D,
Right.
which I don't see currently happening. And from a purely private sector point of view, you would put in that money into R&D only if that
You have
company
returns.
or you're assured of more orders. So how do you try and overcome that? Right? You would have heard of the indigenously designed, developed, manufactured systems, which is the current priority of the government. But we have to face the fact and accept that there are certain technologies, certain areas which still we aren't there. So while on one side you would want technologies which are only indigenously developed, but maybe if you're not finding an answer for next 6 to 8 years, you'll have to accept that you bring in technology from outside, manufactured your kit stuff here, and then move forward. Purely from a user point of view, the Army, Navy, Air Force would want whatever is the best.
Of course.
So, I mean, and that's fair, because
yeah.
you want it immediately, ASAP.
Right.
So that is so how
Balance.
do you bring in the technology is one issue. Second is the innovation I had mentioned in passing. So we have a very vibrant startup ecosystem. We have young, bright talent in the IITs. You have commercially available technologies, which are invariably dual use these days.
Right.
So the challenge is how quickly do you get in these innovation or commercially available technologies for defense use application in a very short time. The Ministry of Defense have a scheme what is called Innovation for Defense Excellence. But my observation is, we need to be more agile. We need to be more responsive. We need to be more fleet-footed. So if there is a project in IDEX, you cannot wait for 4 years, because by the time it comes to fruition, you have new technology coming in. So you have to have a method, you have to strengthen it in a manner that whatever technology you find in the commercial world, within a period of 12 to 14 months, you should be able to bring it on the,
Right.
for good use. So this is one of the challenges. Otherwise, I find a lot of energy, a lot of positivity towards Atmanirbharta, but uh, I don't, I mean, currently I think we are doing things incrementally. My thing is, perhaps you need to bring in some major policy changes. If not pole vault, you must leapfrog and
Right.
not do things incrementally, because
Right.
that will not,
Right.
especially if time is critical.
Yeah. No, I think. Hello. Hello.
I think you are asking all difficult questions. That's why.
Hello. I think Manoj is trying very hard to shut me up. I think. Is this okay? Can you hear me? Okay. I think I'm not going to shut it off now. Let's see if it survives that way. So there are a lot of questions, but we have 15 more minutes, because I'm going to give at least 10 minutes for the audience questions. So there are 2 or 3 important topics that I definitely want to talk
Yeah.
about with you. One is the Agniveer scheme, but the second is tied into what we just discussed, is the theaterization.
Yeah.
And we are living in a time where this is one of the top issues that the services and the CDS has also been dealing with, and we keep hearing we are making very good progress to it. Ops Indoor saw a very good representation of what theaterization means to people who are outside the service. At least we got some concept of what a central command. Of course, those of us who have looked at other parts like the US and all have some idea of what a CENTCOM is. But it will be great to hear from you a quick overview of what is theaterization from an Indian perspective, and then why we are doing it and how far we are ahead in it.
Right. So I think there's so much written about it, so much being spoken about it. Essentially, theaterization would mean that, let us say, the Chinese border, you have one commander there. Under him, the Air Force, Navy, and Army come under him. Currently, what is happening is, along the China border, Air Force is, they have their own commander, they have Army has its own commander, and Navy, when you look at the maritime. So this is one of the ways to achieve better integration, better jointness, improve your outcomes, tri-services synergy. And that is why this concept of theaterization, where all the 3 services coming under one head, that is the background to it. A lot of countries have it, the Western world. What we are looking at is a customized, tailor-made solution which must meet our requirements.
Yeah.
You cannot just copy paste what maybe Australia, US,
Yeah.
UK, Korea, Japan have, because like I said, at the cost of repetition, our requirements are different.
Correct.
Our threat perceptions are different, etc., etc. So we need to have a customized model. The necessity of theaterization, establishing command theaters, again, is well established. I have no doubt that it is much required. There's always this observation that, but it's getting delayed. So when are we having it?
Right.
Now, the answer to that is that whatever be the model which we finally adopt, it's a complex problem. So we require a lot of deliberate thought. While there is urgency, but you can't be in a hurry to do it. Whatever be the solution that we have, 4 things or 3 to 4 things I think we must keep in mind. It cannot be an incremental solution. So I can't say that let's start with this and we'll see after 10 years we'll make changes. I don't think that will work. So whatever is the solution, and that solution, that model has to serve you right for the next 25 to 30 years.
Right.
In that, you'll have to look ahead. What will happen in future? You'll have cyber, you'll have space, you'll have, what have you, all these new things. So do you need separate organization, etc. is a question. So that is one. So whatever you finally want, have it at the outset. Second, when implementing it, it cannot be that, okay, I'll do a pilot project on this side
Right.
initially, and once this works, I learn some lessons, then adopt it there. I don't think that is the right way to go, because it's a new paradigm.
Right.
It's a new setup. It's a new way of thinking. So it cannot be you start with
Hmm.
here and then there and then partner. So all that has to be
Hmm.
together. And the third is you have to, like, again, at the cost of repetition, our peculiar typical requirements have to be met. You'll have to reform, restructure your higher defense organization as to how decision making is done at the highest level, at the ministry level, at the national level. Very complex, arrangement. For want of time, maybe we can discuss it later. But so if you keep these 3, 4 things in mind, you know, absolutely. So in my in my mind, there is no doubt. There was another question. Yeah,
Mike, because I think whatever I touch doesn't seem to work. No, I think the second question, well, different question, but we definitely wanted to cover is your view of the Agniveer scheme and where we are at with that in terms of its rollout, what has worked well, what hasn't worked well. More importantly, why do we need it? Some people who question its need. Uh, it's obviously we leave the politics out of it, but from an army perspective, from someone who has actually led one of the largest armies in the world, how do you see as a user, in some sense, the value of this scheme and how it's been rolled out?
so this was one of the most, I would say, transformations or reforms, whatever you call it, post independence, as far as our defense forces are concerned. There's no doubt about it. The next would be theaterization, but this is less glamorous, but very, very important, very, very critical, which affects soldiers, army, navy, air force on a day-to-day basis. So my thing, we adopted the Agnipath scheme. It has a lot of advantages. One of them is you will get a more youthful, army. The average age of soldiers in the army will be reduced a great deal vis-a-vis what it is currently there. It is also aimed at getting more technology enabled youth into the army, keeping in mind the future requirement. So you can then recruit boys, girls who are ITI qualified, who have done diploma, etc., and likewise. Right. So these were a couple of things, the major ones, as to what are the benefits of the Agnipath scheme. Leave aside how good it is for the society once these, youth after 4 years come out, etc., etc. So we'll leave that up. But one of the things which I feel must do currently, the retention percentage is 25%. So out of every 4 soldier who comes in, 3 will go out at the end of 3 years. Only 1 will remain. Right now, if you do the math, that tells you that in a unit or in a battalion, which is comprising, let's say, 800 soldiers, if you follow this, you will have 50% of the soldiers who are below 4 years. Now, which I feel is okay, where you do not have live threats, live deployments. But in our case, where you have units deployed on the borders, you have combating terrorism, combating insurgency, other challenges, I feel this proportion is not ideal. So maybe there was a talk, there have been recommendations to increase the retention percentage, to say that instead of 25%, make it 50, if not 60. So these were some of the changes, modifications as you went along, and we are now in the 4th year. The first batch will move out at the end of this year, December. So these are some of the changes I thought must be made. The services, I'm aware, have made this recommendation. So we'll see. From a service point of view, so it's not a given. It is not something which all these benefits will accrue. There are major changes to your training regime. Your recruits get training, their duration gets reduced. You'll have to bring in more of simulators, etc., etc. So there are a lot of things which the services need to do within themselves. At the human resource management level, how do soldiers in a unit look at these soldiers who are going to be there for 4 years? So the doubt, will they be equally motivated? Some people say yes because they have no responsibility,
Right.
unlike others. So there are pros and cons. So there are challenges for the services to make it happen, to implement it, which I am certain is being looked at. So to sum it, there are advantages, but it's a very deliberate process. You cannot, like they say in cricket, take the eye off the ball. You'll have to be constantly at it
And adjust it.
for it to make it
Mhm.
a success. So that is my
Right.
sort of limited comment. Yeah.
Thank you so much, General Pandey. I think we can go on and on, but I'm going to say leave 10 minutes for Q&A. Keep your questions ready. Keep them short. I'm going to take 3 questions in just a minute after I'm done with my last question. And the shorter the question is, the more questions we can get. So when we were discussing about this session with Manoj, General Pandey obviously gave suggestions of a lot of topics that he wanted to cover. I had some questions in mind, but he gave me a leeway for one slightly off track question. So I thought I'll keep it to the end. It's not really something very truly off track or controversial, but let me ask you, your predecessors, obviously we don't have to name them, but your predecessors over the past years have been in the news, have been active in media, writing books, giving interviews. You, on the other hand, have been a very low profile person. Is that your nature? Do we see that changing? Do we see a memoir coming from you in the near future, or what else do we see in the next year or two?
So my answer is it's not as if I am not communicating. I am communicating in my own way. And I
In a
mentioned
very
to you
good way.
what I am
In a
doing.
very good way. Yeah.
Uh, well, social media, yeah. I mean, I mean, we all know he's very active, but somehow maybe I'll have to learn the tricks and then
You
join the
should. You
social
should.
media bandwagon. But what I'm saying is I'm making my effort to communicate in whatever manner.
That's
And if you are saying it has not been effective, I'll try and make it
no,
more
no. I
effective.
think
So no, that's in the lighter vein. But I'm doing that.
book anything.
Yeah. So he's more keen on the book, right? So it's not on my mind. Writing doesn't come very naturally to me, but I do realize that it's important if I can sort
Right.
of pen down my
Tell your story.
experiences. But if you have somebody in mind who can help me,
Sure. Sure.
please suggest.
I'm sure there'll be.
And amongst the
I'll be more. I'm sure there'll be
more than
many.
happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's see how it pans out. Maybe one day I'll write something. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, General. Before we get to the audience questions, a big round of applause for the General. And I really like the part where you said you like talking to students. I think we would love to see you more often at IITs, at the Pune College, like College of Engineering Pune. I have a personal vested interest there. So one of the first things I'm going to do now is talk to the Vice Chancellor and start arranging some session there. But as promised, 3 quick questions. Please raise your hands. I don't know if we have a mic, in which case you can just shout. I'll take one from each side.
From a military leadership perspective, what core qualities, values, and institutional custom do you believe our civilian political leadership or a bureaucrat or a corporate companies should inculcate from the armed forces? And conversely, what strength from civilian or corporate background do you believe that should our armed forces inculcate?
Okay, thank you. I think you want to take any
Yeah.
of the 3.
No, I'll take. So
Yeah.
the last one, I think a very important observation. So it is not as if you just get technology in, you buy all the gizmos, and that's the end of it. No, by no means. What you point out, the technological threshold of our soldiers must be concurrently, bought up, right? Which is actually happening. So all these drones that we spoke of, it is now part of their basic recruit training. When a soldier or a recruit or a youth joins the military, he's made aware of all this. So to raise the technology threshold, the Agnipath, I said, to get for more technically sort of oriented jobs, you get boys and girls who are ITI diploma qualified. So that is one way of doing it. Equally important, it is not just technology and training the youth. What about your concepts, your philosophies of operating that equipment will have to change. You will have to get more structures in place. Your organizations will have to change. So while it is easy to say that you just need to get in technology, adopt technology, but concurrently, all these things will have to be addressed. So that's a very important thing, and I think the Army, Air Force, Navy is doing it adequately, right? In terms of how do you raise the technology threshold. The second question was on
So delays in delays.
delays in procurement. I think, to be fair, your observation is correct. Our current defense acquisition procedure, DAP, uh, is tedious. It's very deliberate. Uh, Maybe for good reason, because defense procurement, there are big ticket projects, you want things to get right, etc., etc. But this realization that you need to shorten the procurement timelines is very much there. It has dawned on everybody. So the new, and some of you would be aware, the one we currently have is of 2016 vintage. There is a DAP, Defense Acquisition Procedure, which is the new one is already been put out for comments from various stakeholders, industry, etc. And I'm sure in due course of time, all these observations as to how do you shorten the procurement timelines have been incorporated there, including how do you incentivize innovation, how do you capitalize on the startups, how do you fund the startups, how do you spend more on R&D, all these challenges. And this has been a process which has been on for at least a couple of years. It's, I believe, in the final stages before it gets promulgated. But that's a very, very valid point. And the first question was on
the value system of
again, very
army to
important.
civilian to
Very,
army.
very important. So the easier part is for army to say, look, my value system is this, please imbibe, got it. And I told you the 7 values: loyalty, discipline, respect, honesty, selflessness, personal courage, and integrity, right? So this is the value system which we live by. Besides, and I mean, I'll take a little while. Somebody asked me as to what is it that 4 qualities which a military leader must have or has, and which a youth must try and imbibe. I say there are 4 things. One is character, and character encompasses a whole. I'll not, elaborate on it. Second is competence,
Of course.
which knowing your job, well, the quest to learn more and to be the best at what you're doing. Third is the conduct, what you're doing in terms of, and conduct includes, self-discipline. It includes being empathetic. It includes being a team person, right? So this is the third one. And fourth is commitment. The 4 C's: character, competence, commitment, and conduct. This is what I think a youth especially must imbibe to become a good citizen, a good person. So what is it that the army must learn? And I don't like this term civilian, because I say non-military community. I feel that is more, that's a better term. I have been, and that is what has been my observation, I try to do it. Army thus far has been thinking, or thinking in the sense 5, 6, 7, 8 years back, you cannot remain insulated. You cannot remain isolated. And you cannot believe that, army, or you are the only ones who are working for the good of the country. It is my honest belief that each one of us sitting here, irrespective of the profession, whatever you, doctor, engineer, a business person, whatever, each one does good things for the good of the country. Army so far, and things have changed now, has been shy in reaching out. For some reason, maybe a legacy thing. That has to change. And I believe that the more you reach out to the state administration, community, to, industry, to social, whatever society, your outcomes will only improve, right? There are some good practices in the industry in terms of doing things faster, becoming more efficient. While there is a distinct difference between what is leadership, what is being a manager or management, right? But in terms of certain management practice, I think there is lots the military is to learn from what is there, and just like from the academia. So it is, for want of time, I'll not be able to list out, but it is my conviction that there's lots the military must learn, should learn, and can learn from other professions. But I think Yeah, that is
Yeah.
my limited answer.
So the general has a hard stop in 4 minutes. So there's just one question that, for lack of time, we couldn't jump into, and it's a vast topic. So I don't know if we can talk about it, but maybe a couple of minutes about an important topic that we couldn't get to, and that's Infowars and what we saw with Opsindur. I know it won't be fair, but 2 minutes, your take on it, and we'll close on that.
So, couple of quick comments on the information part. In the past, information warfare was on the fringes in
Mhm.
terms of when we made war
Right.
plans. No
Right.
longer. It is a very essential part of your war planning. Because of social media, because of the speed, because of the outreach. Earlier, the purpose of information war was to influence your own sort of people, the adversary people.
Right.
But no longer. With the international reach,
Mhm.
there's an international dimension to it. Right? The impact of social
Right.
media, the impact of AI, deep fakes,
Mhm.
fake
Yeah.
news.
Yeah.
Now, these are the major challenges to security.
Mhm.
We'll have to find answers to it.
And this is an area where non-military can participate more.
Of course,
Mhm.
like cyber,
Mhm.
so it is a good idea to pick up specialists even in the info domain.
Info
You
domain,
don't
yeah.
need to be a military man to understand how do you manage perceptions, how do you influence opinions, how do you build narratives. It is not a generalist kind of a
Right.
topic
Right.
anymore. You need specialists for it, and you require specialists who are experts. You will need structures, you will need policies, you will need strategies to be able to effectively deal with information warfare. Because these days you don't know, who's winning, who's losing.
Right.
So impacting perceptions,
Yeah.
building narratives is all very, very integral part of this game.
Yeah.
And we got to get it right. It's a very, I would say, complicated, complex, and a specialist subject. And I think, you know, and including we have to learn lessons from what happened during Sindhu
Right.
and what is happening elsewhere
Right.
and move
Yeah.
forward.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Pune Samvad turns 2 years, and it has been what a moment for all of us to hear former Army Chief General Manoj Pande Ji for last almost 1.5 hour. And Amit Ji, thank you very much for making it very interactive, engaging, and we all were listening thoughts, and thought comes to my mind that today's the geopolitical situations. When we say we have today's in these situations, we could hear, why do someone become soldier? The upbringing of soldier in its unit, command, and the question which stuck in my mind when I was listening, that why do non-military, I will not call it civil society, non-military people like us only respect soldier when it comes to war. So I think the engagement needs to happen. The communication needs to happen more often into colleges, schools, academic institutions, and the General Manoj Pandey was saying that the shying away part of army should also most interact with this and make us more engaging with respect to the armed forces. Thank you very much for coming here.